What is up, you guys? Today's video is an exciting one for me because this is kind of going to be a intro to the business that I want to start out of the shop. As you can see behind me, that is a coworker of mine's 2019 Mustang GT, and in this video we're going to be doing an airlift performance kit on it. So that's going to be one of the things that I'm going to be doing for people. If you have airlift or coilovers, exhausts, wheels, I mean, we're going to try and get this place to get the cars out on the streets here in Palm Beach looking a little cleaner. You know what I mean? Shout out to KD Design, because he was the one who initially bagged my Mark 6 GLI when I was like 18. And that's what obviously started all of this. He's been a great connection for me. Also, shout out to James at Wheel Lab, because he hooked Daniel up with the airlift kit. He's taken care of tons of my friends when it comes to wheels or suspension or fitment questions. I mean, he's the man. He's always been there for me. So shout out, James. We appreciate you over here. And, you know, obviously the shop isn't done yet. So what had happened was I told Daniel here to wait till November, because Airlift usually does Black Friday specials. They get killer deals. James actually hooked me up with my airlift kit for my Golf R 2 years ago. That was a Black Friday deal. Word on the street about middle of last month was airlift prices are going up and there will not be any Black Friday deals. So I told Daniel, I was like, hey man, if you got the cash, jump on it now, because the price is going to go up on November 1st. That's exactly what happened. So he bought his stuff about 2-3 weeks ago through Wheel Lab, got his tank painted, and now we're going to try and knock this install out. Okay, so I just took a few beauty shots of the car before. Give you a little quick walk around of the car, how it looks right now. He does have some RTR wheels, which are pretty nice. Brembo brakes, everything up here looks good. Now our goal is to get that to sit on the ground. So I went ahead and just opened everything up, got the boxes laid out. We're gonna open everything up here and get it set up on the table. You can see the tank he got painted, which looks really good. So it's like color matched to the car. Got the fabric for the piece we'll be making for the trunk. And first step is just gonna be like kind of lay the stuff out in the trunk and see how we wanna work this out. So now that everything's opened up, we can see what we're working with. We have the 4-gallon slim tank. This is a 5-port tank, so 2 ports over here, 2 ports over here, and then drain on the bottom. We got a black Vire 444, same thing I have in the Golf R, water trap, filters, airlift harness. We're gonna be doing 3P on this car, same thing that I have in the Golf R, probably the most popular. All the fittings, 3/8 lines. This kit actually comes with sway bar links, assuming that this is going to be lower in the front, so shorter sway bar links are probably necessary. Front performance struts with camber plates, adjustable dampening. Super nice. You can see you have the little dampers that pop into the top up here. And then you can literally click that 30 ways. Super nice. Same thing on the bottoms. You do have adjustment, which is right up here if you want to stiffen it up. And then the double bellow bags for the back. And then the carpet, you know, we'll cover up the wood piece with that. But that is the entire kit. First things first is sort of throw some stuff in the trunk and see where we're gonna put everything. So I played around with a layout in the trunk, and this is kind of what I came up with. So he's not gonna be running any back seats. He still has the seat back rest, but there's no bottom cushion in there. Couple guys online mounted their manifold up top there. My plan is to just make a piece exactly the same as that fabric, and that will give me enough room to mount the manifold and the compressor on the back side of the tank. He'll still have like a totally functional trunk, and these little grommets right here on both sides are actually right out to the rear suspension, so the line's going to be super short. That'll just go right there. The front lines can, you know, run down the inside here. The harness can run down the side. Maybe I'll switch sides of like the compressor on the other side, manifold on the other side, considering actually I think the battery is on the passenger side. Yep. So all of our wiring is going to come down the passenger side, apart from the controller, which is okay. We're going to mount that up in the top left vent over there. So I'm going to cut up a piece of MDF that's going to be about that size. I'm just basically going to trace that piece and cut it out, and then I will, you know, map it out a little bit more in my head and start to bolt things down. And then the next step after that is going to be to dress the tank. Basically get all your fittings on there ready to go, get the trunk piece in, mount it up, and then tomorrow I'm off, so it's just going to be grind time on this thing. We're going to try and get the suspension completely in, knocked out. If I can get this laid out in the back tonight, then the rest of the job's pretty easy. I mean, it's basically like doing a set of coilovers on a car with a little bit of wiring and run some lines. But as you can see on the Mustang, the line's just going to pop out right there. So just put a tiny little sliver so I can slip the line through. Manifold's going to be right there. Lines are going to be super short, no kinks, nothing like that. We have that on both sides, so that's going to be awesome. And then obviously wiring the compressor to the harness, those are right next to each other, so no big deal there. He's going to have to deal with the noisy compressor because you know, he wanted to run no back seat. So no matter what you do with this thing, unless you mount the compressor underneath the car, you're going to hear it run. So I'm going to chop up some wood and start to set up my trunk. And just like that, we have the board cut out. We have the tank mounted where we want it. You know, it's going to sit right in the middle there. And then if we come around to the inside of the car and pull the seats back, we'll see, we're going to tuck our compressor and our manifold right behind the seats. So he asked me if he did want to switch back to having a back seat, if we could make it functional. So I made it nice and tight that if the seat is up, we still have clearance there. And on the compressor side, the seat goes up. We still have a good amount of room. And then we can run our water trap and run this hose right there, drain down in the middle, figure out where we'll run that out to. Probably just leave a Schrader valve for him right in the middle there. And then line there, line over here, a couple lines from the front, harness, run that down to the sides. So I think I'm in pretty good shape for tonight. Now that that stuff's all set up, it's gonna be dress up the tank and start putting in the suspension. So this is where I'm gonna finish up for tonight. I started to prep the tank and, you know, set the fittings and everything. So I have the tank to the manifold run here. We have the drain on the bottom, and this has your check valve and Schrader valve. So if you ever do lose power, you can always fill your tank up this way, like if you lose your compressor. So you can just, pop this and basically have just like a valve stem like you do on your tire. Now the only issue that I am running into right now is turning this compressor line through the trap, and then I don't know really what's going on here. I was trying to kind of piece together like a 45 just because I'm on a little bit of a time constraint. So I saw this piece, but this should be a male if I wanted to get in there. I have this leftover, which I was just going to set in here and then put that straight into the trap, which I still can do. But this was actually like an old fitting, so I don't know if I trust it, but that's pretty much how we're looking for the moment. Pretty good progress on all that. Once this is done, like I said, it's basically just like doing coilovers. Run lines, wiring is super easy, and then take this apart, wrap it. But that's going to be it for me tonight. I will get back at this in the morning. All right, you guys, it's the next day. We are going to continue on the GT Airlift install. First things first for me, I gotta run and go pick up some more tools. Like I said, the shop's not really ready, so I'm not like super stacked on equipment right now, but working with what we got, there's, not too much that we really need. But just before I get really diving into this, I want to make sure that I have everything that I need. Chances are I'm going to go to Harbor Freight and grab some stuff, and then halfway through the install realize that I need something else. So I'm going to go now while it's still early, and then the plan is once I get back, probably start on the front end because that's pretty straightforward. And I guess we'll check back in once I get back from Harbor Freight. Now that I have the car jacked up, we are going to go ahead and start working on the actual suspension. Got some shit from Harbor Freight, so it'll make my life a little bit easier to work on. I'm gonna probably knock out the front section first. So first order of business is going to be setting up the lines over here and getting the fittings all dressed up. We do need to make sure that we use these because we're running a 3/8 line. So I will set it up on time lapse, get the front set up, and then start to drop down the front suspension. You do have to take the brake off in order to get these bolts back here, but shouldn't be too much of an issue. So we're gonna get going on this. So I have the brake rotors, calipers off on both sides. I was starting to drop down the passenger side strut and ran into a little issue, as suspected, with lack of tools. These are both 22s. I only have one 22. So these I should be able to get fine. But those two there are the only other thing I was able to get the sway bar link off. We'll replace that with a new one, but I need to get another 22, so I'm gonna run to AutoZone and see if I can get something. That way, after that, it's just literally these 2 bolts, the 3 on the top, sway bar, line, and then the front's done. So now that I have the front bag whole strut assembly in, I'm waiting until I do the other side to pop the sway bar link in. That way there's no tension on it on the other side. This knuckle over here is giving me a bit of trouble with the breaker bar, so I'm gonna have my roommate bring home his impact. Hopefully we'll be able to get that off, and then after that it's super simple. But for now, I am going to move towards the back end of the car and start to assemble the rear bags. I have this sort of just popped in there for the moment, so once all the suspension's in, I can plot out my lines, wires, then I'll pull all that out and take it apart, set the fabric on, and hopefully calibrate this thing, get it on the ground tonight, if not tomorrow. But yeah, so next thing up, we are going to set up these rear bags here. You need a plate for each side, you need one of those, and then in here there's all your hardware fittings, the centering plate for the control arm, and our rear shocks. Here's my latest update. I got the rear shocks out on both sides. So got that out over here. My roommate did bring home this nice impact, so I was able to buzz that spindle bolt out pretty easy, and we have the front end completely bolted up apart from the sway bar. So just got to put the sway bar link in on the other side, hook it up to the sway bar, and then we will drop the back end down to pull out the factory shocks, and our rear bags are completely assembled, ready to go. We have our mounts on there, the fittings, you have your mount piece there that goes into this. So, and then our shocks, we do have to swap over a piece. I believe this mount you actually have to swap over to the airlift part, but that's no big deal. So I'm gonna try and get the sway bar linked up, and then I guess I'm gonna move towards the back. Checking in again. Front end is completely done, bolted up. Just have to run the air lines. Everything's tight up top over here. Everything's good over here. Both sides done. And same thing over here. I just need to run the airline down through there into the back, but front end is completely buttoned up. The only thing that I need to do left is, let me just grab this, do the final piece. Don't mind my dirty hands, obviously we're out here working. So these are cool because they just pop right in here. We'll try and get them to line up square, but you just pop that right on the top, screw this down, and now we have our adjustable dampening. I'll go ahead and put the other side in. I want to put these in now because otherwise I'll forget about them. I don't want to misplace them. So that is the final touch. I'm not sure where they'll be set up from factory. I usually keep them at like 15. I think I've adjusted the ones in the Golf R to be a little bit stiffer, but that's pretty much it. Now I already pulled out the rear shocks, so next we just got to get these springs out, put the bags in, bolt everything back up, and run lines and wires, and then we can get this thing on the ground. What's up, you guys? It is the next day. Quick update. Front lines are ran all the way down here through the cabin. The rear bags are going in right now. Lines ran up through the trunk. Everything is getting buttoned up. Both sides are basically ready to get bolted up, and then almost all of our airlines are ran. Obviously just got to clean them up. We are getting there. Next thing up on the GT is going to be running the harness. Now that I have all the suspension components are completely in, tightened up, torqued, ready to go. We did a little nut and bolt check on the front and back end of the car. All the lines are ran. So next thing up is, get power to this thing and see if we can make this compressor turn on and make sure that all the bags, everything is functional, working good. And then we will trim any excess line, take the back end apart, and just clean up the rest of the car. Maybe we'll get it on the ground tonight. I don't know. We'll see how things go. So if you're ever getting ready to take on an airlift install, and you have any sort of wiring expertise or suspension expertise, I'm gonna show you how easy this is. The airlift harness, literally one main plug that goes into the manifold. This is just a relay, positive, negative for the compressor. There is an extra little splice point right here, just in case you want to run dual compressors. These are for height sensors. We're going to be using 3P, so not even necessary. And then you can just lay this out all the way to the front of the car. This right here is for your controller. That just has a USB there. Positive, negative to the battery, and a signal wire. This is what will turn the whole system on once you activate the key. You have your ignition on, this will power up the airlift. So this just goes right to the fuse box. And that's literally it. So I'm gonna plug it in and start laying it out in the car. And hopefully next clip will be the compressor firing on. So this is where I'm gonna wrap up the video tonight. I do have the positive wired up. I have the negative wired up. I think I'm actually supposed to be using this for the fuse remote wire, but worst case scenario, I just chop it and, redo those connections. So typically with the airlift kit, they give you a little fuse plug that you just wire this, or you wire this straight up to, plug it right in there, and then you're good. This one didn't come with that, so I got to kind of figure out how I'm going to wire up to the fuse box for signal wire. But everything is good over here. Lines ran right into the back. Everything is all tucked underneath this. We ran our controller up top over here. We're going to end up mounting it right here. Do it sideways just like I have in my car. So I will have to, take that apart, flip it around. That's no big deal. And then still have, a mess of stuff to clean up in the back. Once I, finish the wiring, I'll zip tie this stuff together and trim the lines as best as I can. The rear is all done. Line going right down there, into the bag and up right in behind the shock. And then this stuff all still has to get cleaned up. I did put a wheel on. I was going to jack it up and, see how it looked. But, I figured stop messing around and get busy because I've had the car for a couple days now. I really want to get it finished up for him. So that's probably going to be it for tonight. Obviously, I can't go get parts right now, but yeah, we're probably 95% there. I mean, the rest is just like clean up the trunk and wrap the fabric, put all that stuff back together, hide all the wires on this side here, and then we're pretty much good to put it on the ground. So hopefully, you know, another hour's worth of work tomorrow and I'll be all set. So as you can hear, guys, compressor's running. Got the board covered. I haven't really filmed much. I've kind of just been cranking on this thing so I could get it done for Daniel. But you can see he's got this cool, you know, digital dash up here. But I just had to tweak one little wire job on the front. The tank's filling up now. We'll be able to put some air in each corner, calibrate it, test the up and downs, and we're 99% done. So hopefully you can come pick it up tomorrow. And just like that, we are done. Car's on the ground right now. I have it, let's see. I haven't calibrated it yet, but 79, 82, 85, 79. Actually surprised at the height that this car gets at that pressure. Looks to be like about stock height, so that's sick. Still super drivable, but obviously can drive low. Car's just on some wood right now. I haven't started up. It's like 12:30 right now, and I'm sure the neighbors wouldn't like if I started this car because it is pretty much straight piped with X pipe. So it's loud. I mean, Mustangs are got to be the loudest cars ever. But just like that, car's all done. So if you guys like this video, make sure you like, subscribe, stay tuned for more stuff. There's obviously going to be a lot more builds happening with the 240s, but that's it. Here we go. Car's all done. Full calibrated. Tucking. Oh, unlock it for me. Here's our final bit in the trunk. So we are going to pull the car outside and get some beauty shots.